So a little bit over 2 weeks ago on July 28th, it was my wife's birthday, so I decided I wanted to do something really nice for the family and buy her a brand new car. I decided to go with the 2019 Mazda CX-5. It was a huge upgrade from what she was previously driving for the last 10 years, which was a 2010 Mazda 3. It was the base model. It was pretty bare bones. It didn't even have power locks. I actually filmed the entire surprise experience, and if you guys haven't checked it out, I'll make sure and link it down in the description below so you guys could check it out after watching this video. It's a very emotional and a very happy video. I think you guys will like it. A lot of comments in that video were asking, why the Mazda CX-5? So today I'm actually going to tell you why. Of course, I didn't have to go for the Mazda CX-5. I could have easily gone for the competitors like the Honda CRV, the Subaru Forester, and even the Toyota RAV4. But see, there's a few reasons why I decided to go with the good old Mazda CX-5. For one, my wife has had a really good experience with her Mazda 3. She's had it for 10 years. It was very reliable, it kept her very safe, and ultimately she became a Mazda fan. So why not upgrade to another Mazda? Another very good reason that had a huge impact on my buying decision and why I decided to get the CX-5 over the competitors is that Mazda offers a pretty sweet loyalty discount if you trade in your old Mazda towards a new one, which ultimately dropped the final price by a significant amount.
So me and my wife have been driving the CX-5 for a little over 2 weeks now, and here are some of my initial thoughts. It sits up high, very high. Well, at least for me, since I'm so used to driving a lowered BMW sports car. Higher clearance means you get a more comfortable ride, you don't have to drive over speed bumps at snail speed, and you have less worry about damaging your car's bumper when parking along the curb. The overall ride quality is super smooth and you barely notice when you're driving on a bad road. One thing that really caught my attention was how quiet the CX-5 gets when traveling at low RPMs thanks to cylinder deactivation. When the vehicle is completely stopped, the engine sound is near silent.
Like, it's very quiet. It honestly sounds like the engine's off. Kind of reminds me of the vehicles that come with the feature, the automatic start and stop, where if the car is stopped, the engine completely turns off, and then once you hit the gas, it turns on again. But see, this car doesn't have that feature. It's because of the cylinder deactivation that makes it near silent. Like, I can't hear anything when you're stopped, only like the AC blowing, and that's it. That's some pretty good technology right there. One thing that's definitely not quiet is the amount of noise you hear coming from the tires. You do get an excessive amount of tire noise, and it could be because, you know, I just bought the car. I currently have 602 miles on it. Maybe the tires need to be used a bit before they can kind of soften up. But as of now, I can hear it with the windows completely up. There's a lot of tire noise. But my guess is that it'll get better over time. This CX-5 is a touring model, so it comes with all the safety features standard. One of them being blind spot monitoring, which I'm sure a lot of you guys heard what that is. Essentially, the driver's side mirror and the passenger side mirror, there's a little symbol that illuminates when there's a car in your blind spot. So if you're, you know, thinking of switching lanes, it kind of gives you a heads up so you're aware. And let's just say that you put the blinkers on to switch lanes and there's a car in your blind spot, you'll hear this audible noise that kind of keeps you alert. Watch this. You hear that? I know a lot of people probably find that annoying, especially every time you're looking to, you know, switch a lane. And honestly, it could be a lifesaver, because let's say you're about to switch lanes and you're not really fully paying attention, and then you hear that audible noise that kind of gets your attention so you can take a second look before you make that turn. I find it pretty useful, and I think after hearing it so many times, it doesn't really bother you that much. You'll get used to it. You also get lane keep assist, which pretty much speaks for itself. If you're leaving your lane because you're not paying attention, the vehicle will steer itself back into the lane if you have that feature on, of course. Lane departure warning is also pretty cool, especially the way that it alerts you when you're about to cross over into the other lane. Let's say you're not really paying attention, your steering wheel starts to vibrate, and I thought that was pretty unique. I like that. And of course, like most modern cars that come equipped with safety packages, this one has automatic emergency braking, so if you're not able to react fast enough, the car will apply the brakes for you in a situation where you're about to get into a collision. And of course, if you want to tweak the safety settings, like the alert, you can go from high to medium, or you just want to turn it off completely, you can just go to the menu on the infotainment display and either turn them off or tweak them. But if you get the model that comes with the safety features, you might as well just keep them on. It'll give you that, you know, extra level of security. And since it's a mid-size SUV, it's pretty big, so, you know, bigger vehicles like semi trucks and stuff like that, they can see you well. you know, compared to a smaller compact car. Also, I was driving this car the other day at night, and nighttime visibility was awesome as well. The LED lights that come in the touring package illuminate everything very well, and there's no dark spots. You can see everything even when there's no lights, you know, on the road, which also adds to the safety feeling. I really want to try out the automatic brake system, but honestly, I'm a little too scared to try it out. Maybe in the future, I'll do a video where I test out the feature, because I've honestly never been in a car that, you know, applied the brakes by itself. And maybe I'll get the wife in the car so we can get her reaction as well. I think it'll make a really fun video. We'll see. But I really want to try that out. Obviously, it won't be with another car, but maybe like a wall or something like that. I just want to see how well it applies the brake and how safely. I don't know, I'm curious, but I'm scared at the same time. One of the most useful features on this SUV, especially for my wife when she's traveling with the baby and I'm not around, is the auto hold button here on the center console. So you know, normally when you drive an automatic car and you keep the shifter on drive when you're completely stopped, if you let go of the brake, your car starts to move forward. Well, with the auto hold feature, if you activate it, you can be completely stopped, leave the shifter on drive, and the car's gonna stay in place, it won't move forward. Let's say in a situation if my wife is driving with the baby in the back and there's no other passengers to assist her, and let's say the baby starts to cry and he needs his pacifier, at the red light you can have this auto hold feature there, so you can just reach out to the back, give the baby the pacifier, and the car doesn't inch forward. But naturally, it's a scary thing because you're so used to holding the brakes on an automatic car when you're completely stopped that it just kind of feels weird at first when you attempt to do that. It just doesn't feel right because you naturally think that the car is gonna malfunction and the option is gonna turn off and it's just gonna drive forward and collide with the car in front of you. Also, one negative thing that I can see with using the auto hold all the time, because when you first turn on the car, if you activate it, it remains on unless you turn it off. Like, let's say you get really used to it and you use it all the time, you never hold the brakes when you're at a red light. Let's say you're driving somebody else's car, friends or a family member, and then you're so used to that feature that you don't hold the brake when you're at a red light, and then boom, nightmare, you're rear-ending somebody in front of you. So I wouldn't excessively use that feature. I would probably only use it in a situation like I explained earlier, where you probably have to reach back to give the baby something like a pacifier. I think it's very situational, and I don't recommend getting used to that feature. Performance-wise, throttle response is really good, very, very smooth. I would kind of put it to its limit and try it out right now, but it only has 614 miles. And I'm pretty sure that there's a break-in period. If you guys watched my other video where I surprised my wife, the very first drive, obviously she was unaware about the break-in period. She floored it, and it had a pretty good kick for it, not too bad. This CX-5 comes with the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. There is a turbocharged engine, but I thought it was pointless because I'm not looking to race this SUV. It produces this one around 187 horsepower, which is not crazy, but you know what? It gets the job done, and then if you floor it to get out of a sticky situation, it picks up pretty well. Oh yeah, and there's a sports mode here. Let me switch it on. I'm sure it's not that much of a difference. Maybe just holds the gears in place longer and increases throttle response. Like I said, I'm not gonna floor it just because I wanna make sure I meet the braking period first. You know what the heck? Maybe I just do 50% throttle here. Let's try. Not bad. I mean, it has a bit of a kick to it. I mean, come on guys, it's not a drag car, but I think it's powerful enough to be a family vehicle for sure. This is the front wheel drive version. I decided not to go for the all wheel drive because honestly, unless you live in a state where it snows or you're looking to off-road, it's an overkill, you don't need it. So I decided to go with the front wheel drive, and so far no complaints. Gas mileage is pretty good as well. Mazda says 25 miles per gallon city and 31 miles per gallon highway. We're getting somewhere average in the mid-20s, so that's pretty accurate, which is impressive because that's the same gas mileage my wife's old 2010 Mazda 3 produced. Was around the 25 to 30 range. But this is like twice the size of that car. And the other day I took it to the gas station while it was pretty much at E. And guess how much it took to fill up the tank, guys? $30. That's all it took. $30 with 87 octane fuel. $30. I don't know, this is why the SUV market is killing it. It's practical and efficient.
This is a touring trim which surprisingly has a nice interior. You get a leather wrapped steering wheel and shift knob and leatherette seats with suede inserts. It may sound bad, fake leather, but it does have its pros. It's easier to clean, lasts longer, is cheaper to get, and looks just as good. One thing I really like about the interior is the soft touch material used on many of its surfaces.
Seriously though, the soft touch material that you find inside of the CX-5's interior Feels very, very nice, and it's much better than that hard, cheap plastic you find on economy cars. But of course, for the price point, you're not going to get everything soft touch. For example, here in the center console, you got some of that cheap hard plastic. You'll also find some of that cheap hard plastic on the bottom half of the door panel, but the part that's visible to everybody up top has some of that nice soft touch material.
The 7-inch touchscreen infotainment display, while not the biggest, it does get the job done. You can control it two different ways. Touching the screen only works when traveling under 7 miles per hour for safety reasons, or you can use the control wheel on the center console. The touchscreen is super responsive and very fluid with minimal lag between menus. I was quite surprised. I was expecting a subpar display that I'd get annoyed with. Well, there is something on the display that I found pretty subpar. The backup camera. While it does what it's supposed to do, the quality looked worse than the graphics on a Nintendo 64. The Tourer model also comes standard with dual zone automatic climate control, rear air vents, which if you watched the video where I surprised my wife, you know that is very important for me, which the base model doesn't even come with. Heated seats also come standard with the Tourer model, which is a nice touch. On the right side of the gauge cluster, you'll see a small display that shows the distance between cars in front of you, lane keep assist information, and the speed when you use the smart cruise control. One thing I really didn't like about the interior is the gloss black finish you see on the center console. It's a fingerprint magnet, and my guess is that it'll scratch easily as well. While it may look nice, your hand will always be in that area, so it'll be pretty hard to keep clean. Of course, I can't skip over practicality, one of the main reasons I purchased the CX-5 for my wife. I'm 5'11", and legroom in the back is more than enough even when the front seat is pushed back quite a bit. Cargo space in the rear is massive, as you expect from a mid-size SUV. I can easily fit my personal belongings and my baby stroller with room to spare. And in the case that you need more luggage room, pull the lever on either the right side or the left side and the rear seats instantly drop.
Regardless what anybody says, me and my family are truly enjoying the Mazda CX-5. And honestly, it's an underrated family vehicle that I think deserves a lot more attention than what it's getting.